Hi everyone and welcome. This is Tjoni, and today I'm just giving a little instructional video on how you can create a presentation at home. This is using a green screen which will then be edited. So I've got a little green screen behind me. Normally I would have the entire space behind me covered, but just for the point of instruction, I'm just using a small piece of fabric. So today, just some of the things that you'll need. For the green screen, I've used some green fabric. I just bought some cheap polypoplin from Spotlight. If you have access to fabric, that's great. You might be able to also use something like wrapping paper that is blue taped or sticky taped to the wall. So it's up to you to find something that's not too shiny. You don't want it to reflect any light, and as flat as possible. You can see behind me there's a little bit of shadow on the green screen. It probably wouldn't be enough to matter, but if there's a very dark light and lots of wrinkles and shadows, you might have some trouble with it. So I'll show you how green screen works a little bit later. But the other things that you'll need if you're wanting to record at home, you'll need a camera. Now I normally use my Samsung phone. Usually most phones after iPhone 5, about 6 or 8 years ago, most phones are fine. If you're doing smaller videos, and even older phones than that have reasonable quality video will do, you do need to make sure that you use the front camera. If you use the selfie camera, the quality just isn't good enough. It's quite grainy. So it's much easier to shoot with a selfie phone because you can see yourself on the screen, but you just don't get very good quality at all. And you'll need a tripod or something to prop it up with. Now I've got just a normal camera tripod here, and then I bought a selfie stick a while ago, and the top of the selfie stick actually just screws straight off the stick and it screws straight onto a tripod. So that's very handy. Or you can also get I just got that from Officeworks, just like a little mini tripod that can do the same thing, and then you can actually just have your phone sitting on your desk. Or you can use whatever amounts of blue tack and sticky tape and gaffer you need to assemble something where your phone is sitting in front of you. Now you also need some kind of microphone. If your room is pretty quiet, then just the microphone on the phone itself might be enough. If there's a lot of background noise, you might want to use a mic, and I've got a lapel mic here that just clips on. So I've got about 1.5 meters of cord on the lapel mic, so that should give you enough distance. You might find if there's not too much noise that just the actual microphone within the phone itself is enough. But if there is a bit of noise around you, you might find that the lapel mic helps to improve the quality. So I just have a go at recording sound on your phone normally, and then record it with the lapel mic and just see if it makes a difference. It's different for every environment. Then also you just need to decide if you would like to sit down or stand up during your presentation. I find sitting down more comfortable, but I do find that if you're doing more a presentation, you might want to move around a little bit, and that can feel a little bit awkward when you're sitting. It's up to you. So just find the way that feels the most comfortable for you. Some people might actually prefer to be sitting at a desk, and there's plenty of presenters that are actually presenting from a desk with their computer clearly in front of them. There's nothing wrong with that. It's really up to you on what you want the look of your video to be. And if you've got a nice desk and some flowers and things, that might look lovely in the foreground. It's really up to you on how you want that to look. If you are doing a series of presentations along with other people, if you can just find the common visuals just to make sure that you've got some kind of branding. So so that's just a matter of communication amongst different people in your organization if you're doing a bit of a group project, just to make sure that it visually carries on from one presentation to the next. And the other thing you'll need is some kind of script. So I don't have a script right now, but I have taken down some notes on just the elements that I want to cover, and I've just put those in a OneNote document that I've got up the top of my screen. If you put it up the top of the screen, then it's less obvious as you're looking down and looking at your notes than if they're right down and you need to keep looking down and looking up. So being able to stay as consistent for as long as possible will give you a much smoother presentation. And as far as lighting goes, the light in here is kind of okay. It's a bit changeable though, because I do have top lights, and then at the moment it's daylight and I've got a window on each side in front of me. So they're giving quite an even light, but that does change throughout the day and depending on the weather. So you need to determine if that's going to be an issue for you. If you're doing several different recordings for the same presentation, you might want the lighting to be the same, so therefore you might need to close up windows and use just artificial light so that you can control it. And if you are setting up artificial lights, then it's helpful if you need to move them between shoots to use masking tape or something like that, just to mark where you've put them. Keep some kind of map so that your lighting can be consistent, and that will just help for it to look a lot smoother. And you can use use Zoom as well to test it. Now, like I said before, normally I would be shooting the video on my phone because it's much better quality, but I just want to show you actually what the green screen does. So I'm just going down in Zoom to underneath the window where I can see myself. There's a little pop-up bar, and next to stop video on the right hand side of that is a little upwards arrow. So if you go up to that little pop-up box and click on choose virtual background, from there I've got a series of images. You'll probably have, I think there's a leaf one and a bridge, and there's a couple of other standards. I've also got some others that I've popped in there, and it's generally set automatically to pick up green. And you can use other colors. Green is just the most used because it's a complementary color generally to our skin tone, unless you're an alien, and then you might want an orange screen instead, so it's opposite. Now, I've got quite a few different images that I use. You'll notice that once you've got an image up behind you, that then underneath the images, there is a little box that pops up with a color sample in it. And above that, it says manually pick the color of the background. So if I click on that to pick a different color, say if I click on the door, now everything that is white has now turned into a beautiful earthship in the desert somewhere. Or you might have some artwork behind you, or some greenery, or something else, maybe even some stars. Now you can also click on your face, and then you can turn into some cool weird alien dude. Anyway, I'll turn that off again. So that's just to show you what it actually does. So then in Premiere, which is what I use for video editing, I'm able to cut out all of the screen, and I can also crop around me so that I've got a neat little block of a person that can just be moved around in front of or behind any other elements that I'm editing with. So the main thing is just to make sure that you have an easily croppable space and that your body isn't going off the edge of the green behind you. So then, just considering sound, now I did a version of this before using microphones hooked into my computer, and recording on the computer, it seems to be just picking up the sound of the actual fan in the computer itself. So it was a really strange sound. So I'm re-recording just using the sound recorder on my phone with the mic, and that seems to be a lot clearer. So it's very useful to close your windows. You don't realize how much sound is around you until you start recording. Close windows, close doors. If you have things like fans or refrigerators, fish tank filters, like all of those things, they just add to the background noise. And some of that we can filter out, but it actually makes the voice sound a bit digitalized. So generally with video, the cleaner and better quality the raw material, then and easier it is to create a good result. Sometimes just reshooting like I'm doing now might take you another 15 minutes, but it might actually save you hours and hours and hours of digital editing afterwards. So that's just something to consider. And one other thing just to take note of is I didn't realize how much I say until I started recording myself doing public speaking. And we do it often. You don't realize it any more clearly than when you're actually doing a video presentation. So if you can, well, try not to do it, but if you find yourself doing it, for the point of video editing, if you say U-N-G, your lips don't come together. And therefore, if someone's editing you, it's easier for them to take the volume out during that bit, so it's silent, without actually having to cut out that chunk of video. So if I say, I don't know what to say, it's going to be obvious that I've cut out a bit of video. Whereas if I say, I don't know what to say, I can take out that little bit of volume and it makes it look a lot smoother. You don't want to look like you've been chopped up too much. Now, as far as preparation goes, I'm just going to put on the virtual background again and show you something, because actually the blue showed it up better. One thing I noticed when I was shooting last time is I've got a lot of frizz in my hair and it creates a bit of a halo. And you can cut that out to some extent when you're video editing, but it doesn't cut it all out. So what I will be doing next time I do a presentation is, sorry, I'm just trying to, there we go. Just trying to reset. Next time I do a presentation, I'm going to put some antifreeze in my hair. I don't have any recommendations about that whatsoever. I'm not a makeup and hair person, but I will just try some form of antifreeze. And you could try that, or you could try just using a bit of extra conditioner that day, or maybe just spray your hair down with a little bit of water and just smooth it down, and then you'll have a cleaner edge. So usually on any green screen, any computer generated graphics in movies and things, the hair is the dead giveaway of the actual background work that goes into trying to create a smooth image. The other thing I tend to do is just put a bit of moisturizer on. If I'm actually doing a presentation, I'll put on a little bit of makeup just because it does look a bit neater, but I don't do a lot. You can maybe even just get a little bit of foundation, mix it half-half with some moisturizer if you just want to just create a slightly cleaner look. It's up to you if that's an issue or not. And clothes, it's good to just do a very quick test with your clothes. I'm not doing any suit and tie kind of business right now, but if I was doing something that was a bit neater, I would definitely be doing a prep, because you don't know if a button's undone, if one collar looks a little bit crooked next to the other. Those things that we can often miss. Once you're doing a video, it can start to be really obvious and it will be really annoying for you. So just do a quick run and just make sure that everything's tucked in and where it is supposed to be. The other thing I like to do before I do a video is just make sure I've had a bit of exercise, had a bit of a stretch, a bit of a walk or a run, some yoga, whatever you need to do, just to limber your body up. It just allows you to relax a little bit more, especially if you're not so used to doing video. And yeah, so I find that that's very helpful as well. And one thing that I found helpful when I was doing theatre is when we were doing storytelling many years ago, we were taught to find a balance in how much movement and stillness we had. So we would tell a story and we would use a chair as a prop, and we would clown it and make it super comical and outlandish and dive under the chair, do handstands on it, just go a little bit nuts and a bit stupid with the story. And then we would do another version where we were sitting absolutely dead still and whispering. So it was like really, really, really quiet and still. And playing with those extremes, it can just help to find a nice balanced middle ground in the center. So that might be something that's helpful for you. I know that my brother did acting school and they did 4 weeks on just presentation, because apparently it's one of the hardest things to do. And I'm still learning. I've still got a long way to go, but it definitely is worth just taking some time to explore different ways that can be improved. Hence making this little talk. So the other thing is, just make sure you do a quick test run, just making sure that all of those things, the sounds, the lighting, the clothes, how you're sitting, making sure you're in frame. There's nothing worse than spending 15-20 minutes in front of a camera doing a whole big run and then realizing that half your head's chopped off. Or you might prefer that, but I'd prefer to keep all my bits together. Thanks. So now, as far as presentation goes, if you're someone that's quite animated and moves around a lot, if I as an editor, or you as an editor, or any other editor needs to chop your bits and pieces up and you're going from here to here, it's going to be really obvious and it's going to look very, very strange. So as far as possible, even if you are quite animated, try and stay still, try and stay centered. If you tend to move a lot, it might be more worthwhile for you sitting on a chair. And if you find that you're moving a bit, find a central spot that you remember, so that at least the start and end of each sentence or each few sentences, you come back to the start. What that means is, if we need to chop bits and pieces out, we might chop from there to there rather than from there to there. And so it will just help keep it smoother and consistent from a visual perspective. Consider if you're going to maintain eye contact. I try to do eye contact as much as I can, but I do know people, especially if you're working from a script and it's difficult to remember it. This is a bit more casual, so it doesn't matter so much. But if you really need a full script, either memorize it completely so that you can maintain quite steady eye contact, or I've also seen people that will actually have a camera to the side, a computer in front of them, or a script in front of them, so that they're looking at the script but smiling as if they're talking to someone. And if that's consistent and if that's the nature of the entire presentation, that looks fine. So it would be better to find the way that works for you and works comfortably for you, rather than trying to memorize a sentence and then getting frustrated over it and looking frustrated over it. So find a way that works for you. Consistency is key. And on saying that, if you find you're working through some sentences, you've said a few things and then you've stuffed it up, it can be helpful to have a visual cue, such as just to say cut it out, and it can be a reminder to whoever's editing it, or a little bit of a red flag to just say cut that last bit out. Sometimes somebody might mess something up and it's not entirely obvious, or if you're about to say something and then you realize you've said the wrong thing and then you quickly correct yourself, if you do that, you can't edit it. So if you realize your sentence is going down the wrong direction and you need to restart it, just chop it out and start the sentence again. So just remember, your editor can literally chop up all of the bits, and I will chop a 30-minute piece down into 10 or 12 minutes. So, you know, it's much easier for an editor to work with raw material that has a lot of breathing space rather than something that's rushed. So that's just something to keep in mind. Now, what else have we got? Eye contact. Match your expression to your words. So it's nice to welcome your viewers with a smile, regardless of what you're offering. And also giving them a well wish at the end is nice as well. But if you're talking about something really traumatic or disturbing, you don't want to do that with a smile, because it kind of makes you look a little bit weird. So just consider the context, the material, what you're talking about, and you need to feel that and to be able to express that with your words, with your face, with your body. So I remember Lewis Black talking about George Bush years and years and years ago, saying his words don't match his face. He's smiling and talking about war on terror and all of this stuff with a weird kind of clown smile on his face. Just make sure your words match your face. And what else? Just smile, have fun with it, relax. If you need to shake around and be a bit stupid and do whatever you need to do to just be able to chill out in front of the camera, just do that. And some people find it helpful. I'm kind of used to just talking to myself in a room all by myself. I'm weird. Not everybody is weird like that. Some people find it kind of odd to talk to themselves in a room by themselves. So you can put up photos or teddy bears or plants. Do whatever you need to do. Put things around your camera so you imagine that you actually have someone that you're talking to beyond the people on the other side of the screen that are going to see your work later on. And the other thing is, you might find it's easier to actually just go straight through your material 2 or 3 times in a row. Don't get up to shift the camera again, just keep running it through. You probably find by the time you get to the second or third time that you've got a bit more momentum and it feels a little bit more comfortable and natural for you. So that's about it from me at the moment. So next time I will be doing another quick session like this. It will actually be a lot quicker than this one, on how to set up Zoom if you're being interviewed or if you'd like to interview someone else. In some ways, interviewing is actually a lot easier because you don't necessarily have to script anything, and it's a lot, you can just have your notes and everything in front of you. It's not kind of as formal as an actual presentation. So that will be coming up in the next little instructional video. But in the meantime, if you have any questions or suggestions, if you'd like to chat about anything with regards to presentation, feel free to get in touch. If you're looking at this video in a chat room, just PM me. If you're not in a chat room, feel free to message me or send me an email, info@in-spiral.org, or find me at Inspiral on Facebook or Twitter or any of the things. Anyway, have a beautiful day. Thank you for watching. And until next time, my friends, keep dreaming the good dream. Ciao for now.